special guest, Marcela Gurdian. Marcela is an attorney specialized in immigration in Costa Rica for just about over 30 years now. Today, we're talking about a very important topic. The title of the show, Crackdown on Perpetual Tourists in Costa Rica, has certainly grabbed people's attention. We know Costa Rica is increasingly popular. More and more people want to spend more and more time in Costa Rica. We noticed, Marcela, lately that some people have been reporting having difficulties renewing some of their 90-day stamps. And our objective today is to sort of give people an understanding of what is a visa stamp, what is a tourist visa, what is a perpetual tourist, what are the rights that people have, what are the rights that people don't have as a tourist, and what are some of the solutions. So what do you think about that, Marcela?
That's great. I'm so happy to help you, Pepito. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Marcela. So, Marcela, what, first of all, is a tourist visa?
Okay, tourist visa is the permit that the Costa Rican government is giving for people who wants to come to Costa Rica. So many people get confused because, let's say, a Canadian, they don't need a visa to enter Costa Rica, but once they are inside Costa Rica, immigration officer will put a stamp in the passport, and that's what we call tourist visa. An American doesn't need a visa to enter, but what we call tourist visa is the stamp that the immigration officer is going to put in the passport.
Sometimes, generally, the agents will put a number on the stamp.
Exactly. So some people, they don't need some people can enter Costa Rica without a visa. Okay. So that's Americans, Canadians, Europeans, they don't need a visa to enter Costa Rica. But when they enter Costa Rica, they are given 90 days maximum time to stay in Costa Rica. That's what we call tourist visa. Some other people, they need a visa that they can get at the Costa Rican consulate to enter Costa Rica.
Okay, so I think in the cases that I think we have an interest in today are mostly North American, some people from Europe, people from Canada, people from the States. Now, so basically, what is a tourist visa is the stamp that we have in our passport. Usually the agents will write 90 days or whatever number and put a little circle around it sometimes. So that is what we call a tourist visa or tourist entry into the country. Now, the title of the show, Marcela, is Crackdown on Perpetual Tourists. So we're going to try to define what is a perpetual tourist, because that is a word that we hear around. So, and I know that there's different types of people who come and enjoy different types of holidays in Costa Rica. So I'm going to give you like 4 or 5 scenarios, Marcela, and just give me like a quick comment. And then we're going to see where it starts to get a little bit problematic for certain people. So Marcela, I come to Costa Rica every year for 90 days. Is that a problem or not?
No. That's not a problem, because if you are American, Canadian, normally you are giving 90 days. But attention, you have to complete the requirements to enter Costa Rica. You should have an exit ticket out of Costa Rica. If you have the ticket for 30 days, they will give you 30 days visa. If you have the ticket for 90 days, they will give you 90 days visa.
Very good point.
That's important. Now with the pandemic, you need to have either the vaccines, or you need to have a medical insurance to cover you for the amount of time that you are going to be in Costa Rica. So you could have a ticket for 90 days, but if the medical insurance is for 30 days, they will give you only 30 days visa. So that's important. So to enter Costa Rica, any tourist must complete all the requirements.
And also one of the requirements is to complete the famous Pase de Salud, I believe.
Yes, exactly.
So that's not an issue. Now I come here for 3 months. I go back home for 3 months, and I decide there's a good airline special. I want to go back for another 3 months in Costa Rica within the same year. Can I do that?
Yes, of course.
Okay, perfect.
That's not a problem.
Okay, so now we have George, and George comes here every year for 6 months. So George comes in. does his border run after his 88th, 89th day or 90th day, and gets another 90 days and stays for another 3 months in Costa Rica. You see any issues within the standards of the law with that?
Could be, Pepito, because he's spending half a year in Costa Rica, so he's living here. So the immigration officer may wonder why this person is not applying for residency. He's spending 6 months per year in Costa Rica, so this person should be applying for residency. So maybe he will be given less than 90 days. And that's the way immigration officers are like pushing them to apply for residency.
Okay, perfect. I want to talk a little bit later about the rights of the border agents, actually. Now, we have Paul. Paul comes into Costa Rica. He comes to Playa del Coco, Guanacaste. Every year, he's been doing that for 3 years, and he's coming in for 4 months. So he comes in, does his 90 days, goes out to Nicaragua, does a border run with Costur, comes back to Coco, spends 4 months. He's been doing that for 3 to 4 years. Is that a problem within the boundaries of the law?
That's what we call perpetual tourists.
Okay.
That's what we call, because he's actually living in Costa Rica, but he's abusing the system because he's renewing the visa every 3 months, come back, go out, come back. So he's abusing the system, and that's what we call perpetual tourists. It's someone that is living in Costa Rica, but is not applying for residency. So this person, from one day to the other, the immigration officer may give him 8 days as a tourist visa. And I have seen so many cases. They are giving 8 days, and they don't even notice that they were giving 8 days as a stamp because they expect the 90 days. And that's the immigration officer has the right to give 10 days, 2 days, 20 days, up to 90 days. So
Okay.
that's important, and that this is something that is happening right now at the Nicaraguan border that I know.
Yes. Okay. So this is the point I wanted us to clarify. So you're telling me, Marcela, that a border agent has the discretion to give whatever amount from 0 to 1 day to 90 day to any tourist who enter Costa Rica, to his discretion, even for no reason, even if he just has like a bad feeling about you, you're saying?
Not really. I mean, they have to follow indications. I mean, they have
Okay.
to check the vaccine, they have to check the validity of the passport, they have to check if the person needs a visa to enter Costa Rica, they have to check the medical insurance, the exit ticket, and if the person complies with all of the requirements, and if there is no alert in the system, because some people that are that maybe Panama is looking for them, the immigration officer will see an alert on the system. So, but normally, if the person complies with all of the requirements, the immigration officer should give them the entry stamp.
Perfect. Okay.
He cannot
I'm going
say,
to come.
you don't enter Costa Rica because I don't want you to enter. No, that's not. I mean,
Okay.
they are
Okay.
not supposed to do that.
A couple of situations I'm going to present to you in a minute that some people have reported to me. I want to get your impression on that also. So now, the next scenario, okay. So I have now, like I have Steve, and Steve's, he's in Costa Rica. He's been here for a year. He's been doing, border run every 3 months. He's got all the requirements. He's got the insurance. He's got the Pase de Salud. He's got a, duly, produced passport and everything. So is he considered a perpetual tourist also?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Now, another scenario, believe it or not, okay, I've seen a couple of situations like that. I've seen some people, Marcela, who've been here for an extended period of time, for example, 2 years, no border runs. So they're not harassed by the border agents, those people. They can't do a crackdown on them because they simply don't go to the border. What do you think about that?
what they could face is a deportation, Pepito, because if they are illegal in Costa Rica, if they don't do the border runs, they are illegal. So if the police, even the transit police, stop them and they see that the visa is expired, they will send them to immigration, and immigration may do a deportation because their state is illegal in Costa Rica. If they go out of Costa Rica and the police, they didn't find a police because they were lucky and they didn't find a police, and they are trying to go out to renew the visa, they won't face any problem because they are leaving Costa Rica. They are already leaving Costa Rica. But in the future, immigration may see that they are overstayed the visa, and they may give them less time in the visa. They may give them 20 days, 30 days, because they know that this person overstayed the tourist visa in the past.
So Marcela, maybe about a year or so ago, there was some information circulating in the media saying that the government of Costa Rica was going to start implementing certain elements of the law to those people who overstayed those visas, and that if they were caught, they could be fined $100 a month and then denied re-entry in Costa Rica for 3 times the number of time that they were delinquent. Is that actually, in fact, a law in Costa Rica?
That's not in application, Pepito, because it is difficult to collect the money. The $100 fine is difficult. They have to implement the system, so it's not in application. So it's not that people, they don't have to count on this law because it's a risk. I mean, it's not that they can stay here 12 months illegally and they will pay $1,200 and that's it. Okay. First, they will have to pay the penalty, and then they won't be able to come to Costa Rica triple the time that they overstay the visa. Okay, triple the time. So if they are overstay the visa 12 months, they cannot come back to Costa Rica in 3 years.
Okay, so what you're saying is that there's no financial fines or multas.
The law is approved, but it's not in application.
Okay, perfect.
Because of the pandemic, so it's not in application yet. But I will never stay in Costa Rica just considering that I will pay the $100 fine and that's it. If you overstay the visa, you're illegal in Costa Rica, you find a police officer, you could face a deportation and you cannot enter Costa Rica in 5 years.
Okay. In 5 years. Okay. That's good. I'm very happy to clarify all of those points. So Marcela, what you're saying basically, in the case, for example, of this gentleman that's been here in Coco, for example, for 2 years, I won't have any financial penalties. I won't be denied re-entry. I could be
deported.
And but my driver's license becomes nil in my insurance, right?
Exactly.
So besides that, there's not really no consequence, you're saying?
Not really, Pepito, because if this person decides in the future to apply for residency, who knows? Immigration may do a search and they will see that he overstayed the visas many times. So I won't risk, really, because in Costa Rica, everything is changing from one day to the other. And with immigration, you have to be careful. I mean, if you are coming to Costa Rica very often, it's because you like the country. So you don't have to risk the possibility to apply for residency in the future.
Okay. So Marcela, we did receive a comment from Natis, who said, thank you for this very, very precious information. It's very, very much appreciated. Now, Marcela, I have a question for you. So because we're talking about now lately, as you mentioned, I mentioned, the agents are a little bit more picky, a little bit more. I've honestly, I've been in Costa Rica almost 8 years, and I found that the agents are usually accommodating in many ways. But it seems to me that for the last month or so, we're getting all these reports of people who are feeling that, there's some kind of a crackdown on perpetual tourists or tourists altogether. Your reaction to that, is that normal or common here in Costa Rica?
Not really, Pepito. That's not common, and it's not a government disposition. I haven't heard any disposition from immigration regarding this, and I belong to a commission of immigration lawyers, and no one knows about this. I know that it's happening in reality because I have so many clients complaining about this, and they come immediately to my office to start the residency process. But I know that they do that from time to time, especially at Nicaraguan border. That's what they do. I mean, they don't like perpetual tourists, and there has been many projects in the past to stop the perpetual tourists, but we depend on tourism, Pepito. So I think that these projects, they won't be approved.
If I understand what you're saying is that the government actually needs to be, in fact, accommodating, as opposed to being stricter with the application of any penalties or new laws or whatever.
Yes, but what is happening right now, Pepito, is that Costa Rica has a lot of different nationalities wanting to move to Costa Rica. Many people applying for residency. It is like, it is totally unexpected for the government. And I guess that they are trying to filter the immigration. If you want to be here, apply for residency. If you don't want to be here, go.
Okay, I'm going to give you now 2 examples of something that really surprised people lately. You tell me your reaction to that also. I have a gentleman that reported to me on a border run that he was complying with all the criteria, as you mentioned earlier, but the border agent said he wouldn't let him come in if he couldn't demonstrate the amount of money that he had in assets. So he actually asked him to open or see a copy of his bank account. Would that be normal?
People, that's one of the requirements, to show that you have enough money to stay in Costa Rica. You can show the amount of money with credit cards, with cash, or with bank accounts. So that's something that the immigration officer could do. If you don't show that you have sufficient money to be in Costa Rica, they won't allow your entry.
Okay, so that is not common, but is not illegal.
It's not illegal, it's in the law that they have to show, a foreigner must show the amount of money that they have to spend in Costa Rica. It's like when you go to US, they ask you, how much money are you bringing? How are you gonna pay for your stay? So that's the same that Costa Rican immigration officers are doing.
Okay.
Because they are afraid that people come here to work, to stay and work.
Another issue I've seen lately, because traditionally when we do border runs, we tell people bring paper copies of your return or of your proof of exit, of your return airline tickets, because there's no Wi-Fi, there's no internet in the immigration building, at least on the Nicaragua side or Costa Rica side. So some agents lately have been demanding to people to actually open their phone, and they are rejecting the paper copies, and they're telling people that they want to see the original email from the airline. But that's creating problems to some people because they don't have access to internet.
I didn't know that, Pepito. That's a technical problem. And immigration should give them internet access so that they can check their phone. But that I didn't know.
Yes, and that's actually, it's been part of some of the common new things that are being done at some border posts.
So there is no internet at the immigration at the offices.
There's no Wi-Fi, no internet accessible to the public.
So that's a problem. So how can they request something that is impossible? They shouldn't.
That's right. So we've covered pretty much every point, and I want to remind people that I'm going to be putting an email address below, and people who have questions, because we're not actually live this time, but people who do have maybe very specific questions on some issues that maybe we didn't cover related to today's subject, to write to the email I'm going to put below. Send me an email, and I will review some of those points with Marcela and get back to you with some proper answers. So Marcela, if someone would feel, here's a good question for you. If someone would feel that for some reason a border agent would be like a little bit abusive, maybe with his role or power, if I could say, is there anything that somebody could do when you're there, like in line at the border? Could you ask to talk to a supervisor? Is there like a number, something to do?
Yes, they can talk to the supervisor because they have a director, immigration director at the border. But it's difficult. I mean, because they protect themselves. So if you ask for a supervisor, they may not call the supervisor.
Okay.
So it is difficult. It's better not to risk. It's better
Okay.
not to risk, Pepito, because better to do everything by the book, by the law. Don't be a perpetual tourist.
Is it possible, Marcela, give me your gut reaction to this. This is something that I think is maybe part of the actual problem we're seeing at the border post here in question. I don't want to mention a specific post or point an individual, but is it possible that at times you're going to see like new border agents and they're new on the job and they're all motivated and they decided they want to apply the law by the book, point by point, and that's it?
Could be.
Could be.
Could be, Pepito.
So Marcela, okay, for those people that the categories we've mentioned, the people who are here like for 6 months or 4 months, year after year after year, or people who want to be here year round, go do like border runs every 3 months, and now that are facing all of this, these difficulties, what is the solution? I know what the answer you're going to give us, but what is the solution, Marcela?
Okay, if you are not planning to live in Costa Rica permanently, you could take the risk. But if you want to live in Costa Rica, apply for residency. I mean, it's so easy. And if you go to Nicaragua just to renew your visa, because you need to be able to drive and you show them that you are in process to obtain the residency, you won't face any problem. But if you're trying to play with the law by living here permanently and just do the border runs every 3 months, you have to know that you can face, you can have the risk to get a short visa of 8 days, 9 days, 10 days. That's a risk. So it depends on what are your plans in Costa Rica. If you come just as a tourist twice per year, that's okay. But if you are living in Costa Rica permanently and you are just renewing the visa, that can stop anytime.
Yeah. So is this situation that we are seeing, this is my last question, that the border agents at some points are flexible, sometimes are a little bit more by the book. Is that is that like that pretty much from your experience as an immigration expert? And I know you've traveled the world a lot. Is that situation we're seeing unique to Costa Rica? Is that pretty much like that all over the place?
I think it's happening everywhere, Pepito, because people are moving a lot right now with the pandemic. There is a lot of movements between countries, and they have to change the rules. They have to change the dispositions because, and I have seen that in Australia, South Africa, Israel. So because the countries, they want to keep their safetiness first. So they are trying to filter the type of immigration, Pepito. So if you really want to be in Costa Rica, just respect the law. Respect the law. Because I will do if I go to US, if I go to Canada, if I go to France, I will respect the law.
Marcela Gurdian, thank you very much for your advice and your expertise today. and we hope to see you on the show again very, very soon. We're going to put the coordinates on the screen so people who want to contact you for any advice or services, they could do so via Immigration Expert.
Thank you very much, Pepito, for the invitation. It's always
That was our special guest today, Marcela Gurdian for Immigration Experts. Amigos, if you do have any questions related to today's subject, please write to the email provided below. We want to thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to Pepito Live on our YouTube channel and join us for the next show. Thank you for watching. Gracias.